What's up, everyone? This is Dom. Welcome to my guide on questing with an Arcane Mage in patch 6.2. This is Lorendia. She's going to be assisting me today, and isn't she sexy? Nothing like a hot space goat to get my blood flowing in the morning. Okay, let's pull up the interface and get started. Now, the very first thing you need to do is hit your N key to bring up the talents window and immediately switch to your Frost spec. But Dom, I hear you saying, Arcane does way more damage than Frost. Yes, Arcane does do more damage than Frost. However, Arcane's survivability is much lower than Frost's. So my first tip for questing as an Arcane Mage is to not quest as an Arcane Mage. But this is a guide on how to quest an Arcane, so I will give you my advice on how to do so, with hopefully a minimal amount of dying on your part. Just a reminder that all of the talents I'm suggesting here are for questing as an Arcane Mage, not raiding. You will need a completely different set of talents for optimal raiding. These talent choices are optimized for burst damage and survivability, not long sustained damage with a rotation that maximizes DPS. If you want those suggestions, the annotation on screen will take you to the rating guide. Let's get going. Tier 1, Evanesce. This is your first level 1 talent. It replaces Ice Block and prevents all damage for 3 seconds. Blazing Speed. This suppresses slowing effects and increases movement speed by 150% for 1.5 seconds. Ice Flows. This allows you to cast your next spell with a cast time while moving. The spell has 3 charges with a recharge time of 20 seconds. Your default talent here is Blazing Speed. It will give you a movement boost between areas and help you escape death. Evanesce doesn't last long enough to guarantee survival when you're in immediate danger. Also, it replaces Ice Block, which you need for maximum survivability, as we'll discuss in a few moments. Tier 2, Alter Time. When cast, after 10 seconds, this will return you to the place and health level you were when it was originally cast. However, Alter Time does not affect your mana level. Flame Glow. This is a passive shield that absorbs damage at all times. Ice Barrier. This is an on-demand shield that absorbs damage. It scales with your spell power. Ice Barrier is the clear choice here. Flame Glow gets an honorable mention as its shielding is passive rather than on-demand, but while questing, you'll get more for your money by putting up a shield before you start combat than from a passive shield that's on all the time. Remember that, since mages can't heal, avoidance is better than mitigation. Tier 3, Ring of Frost. This will summon a 10-yard wide circle at the targeted location for 10 seconds. Enemies who enter the area will be frozen in one spot. It affects a maximum of 10 enemies. Ice Ward. This causes all enemies within 10 yards of your target to be frozen for 5 seconds when your target takes damage. Frostjaw. Silence an enemy and root them in place for 8 seconds. Damage will interrupt the effect. Now, none of these are really that great for questing, but Ring of Frost gets the vote for its AoE potential. Tier 4, Greater Invisibility. This empowers your invisibility spell. The spell is instant and makes you take 90% less damage while invisibility is active, and for 3 seconds afterwards. Cauterize. This spell will prevent you from dying. An attack that would have killed you will instead take you to 35% of your health, and then burn you for 28% of your health over 6 seconds. This can occur once every 2 minutes. Finally, Cold Snap. This finishes the cooldown on your Evanesce or Ice Block, Presence of Mind, and Frost Nova. It also heals you for 22% of your maximum health. So the choice here is Cold Snap. It's an on-demand heal, and the only on-demand heal available to the mage class. It also syncs nicely with Glyph of Regenerative Ice. There could be an argument for greater invisibility, but the healing component of Cold Snap, paired with Glyph of Regenerative Ice, pretty much makes the choice for you. Cauterize is not a good talent for questing. It will take you down to 7% of your health when it's done. Cold Snap. Tier 5, Nether Tempest. This is a damage over time ability that lasts for 12 seconds. It does damage to your target and enemies within 10 yards. Its damage is increased by 50% for each arcane charge you had when you cast it. This can only be on one target at a time. Your main target will take damage from the single target component and the AoE component with each tick. Unstable Magic. This gives your Arcane Blast a 15% chance to explode on impact, doing an additional 50% damage to all enemies within 8 yards. Supernova. Deals damage to all enemies within 8 yards of your target, knocking them upwards, and it interrupts spell casting. It's important to note that this spell can be cast on an enemy or an ally. If cast on an enemy, they will take double damage. Supernova replaces Frost Nova and has 2 charges with a recharge time of 25 seconds. Supernova is your default choice until you have the class trinket Tome of Shifting Words, which drops from Archimond in Highmaul. Once you have that trinket, your choice becomes Unstable Magic. Now, some will make an argument for Nether Tempest here. I don't totally disagree, and in fact, I have used it before. However, because it's really only useful when you already have 4 arcane charges, I suggest Supernova for its burst damage. Remember, our goal is to kill them before they have a chance to kill us. Tier 6, Mirror Image. This will spawn 3 copies of your mage, who cast Arcane Blast at your target. Note, these casts of Arcane Blast will not give you arcane charges. Your mirror images last for 40 seconds. Rune of Power. This is an area spell that you place on the ground. If you stand within 8 yards of it, you will deal 15% increased spell damage. It lasts for 3 minutes, and you can have up to 2 runes on the ground at any time. Incanter's Flow. This is a passive talent that cycles every 10 seconds. The sequence is 4%, 8%, 12%, 16%, 20%, 20%, 16%, 12%, 8%, 4%. Incanter's Flow is your choice here. Passive damage increase with reliable regularity. Rune of Power is not a good choice here because it requires you to stay in one place in order to take full advantage of it. Mirror images can help, but only once every 2 minutes. Tier 7, Overpowered. This will make arcane missiles add 2 seconds to your arcane power cooldown. Prismatic Crystal. A crystal will appear at the targeted location for 12 seconds. Each time it takes damage, it amplifies the damage by 30% before spreading it out over all enemies within 8 yards. Arcane Orb. This will cast a large orb of arcane energy directly forward for 40 yards. Upon casting, and each time it does damage, it generates an arcane charge. Arcane Orb is the right one to take for questing. It's a good AoE burn and gives you arcane charges. The other 2 are best used during raiding and dungeons. Remember that Prismatic Crystal doesn't move, so it's got to be next to mobs that you're trying to kill in order to be useful. Overpowered helps you with your arcane power cooldown, but not enough to really impact it for reliability during questing. Okay, let's move on to glyphs. Questing with Arcane is all about killing them before they have the opportunity to kill you. Most mobs will attempt to move into melee range with you. This is bad news, since science has proven that Arcane Mages are about 16% more durable than wet toilet paper. Your glyph choices are all about maximizing your very limited survivability. There are 3 major glyphs that you should take with one additional option. Glyph of Slow adds a slow debuff to your Arcane Blast power. I consider this one as absolutely essential for questing as Arcane. Glyph of Regenerative Ice heals you for 40% of your health while Ice Block is active. If you take this glyph, you should also take Cold Snap, which will reset the cooldown of your Ice Block. That will give you a 22% heal from Cold Snap, followed by 40% of your health during Ice Block. You can then reset Ice Block and use it again in 30 seconds once the hypothermia debuff has fallen off. Finally, Glyph of Rapid Displacement will give your Blink spell 2 charges with a recharge time of 15 seconds. This will give you escapability. Remember, escape is perfectly legit for an Arcane Mage. Brave mages who tank bad guys turn into dead mages very quickly. The only other major glyph worth mentioning is Glyph of Cone of Cold, which increases the damage of your Cone of Cold spell. So, instead of being nearly worthless, Cone of Cold becomes nearly useful. But the first 3 are the top 3 to run with. For minor glyphs, I highly suggest you get Glyph of Momentum. It causes you to blink in the direction you're moving, which can save your life on many occasions. Also, Glyph of Rapid Teleportation increases your movement speed by 70% for 1 minute after using Teleport, or one of your mage portals. It's one of the best minor glyphs in the game. There is one glyph to avoid. I've seen some people suggesting Glyph of Ice Block, which triggers an instant cast Frost Nova when Ice Block terminates and makes you immune to all spells for 3 seconds. To me, this is a PvP glyph. Also, it's mutually exclusive with Regenerative Ice, which, as we already discussed, can heal you. I suggest you stay far, far away from Glyph of Ice Block while questing. There are 4 class cooldowns you need to manage as an Arcane Mage. Arcane Power. This increases spell damage by 20%, and the mana cost of abilities is lowered by 10%. Now note that this is the improved version of Arcane Power. Before level 90, Arcane Power increases mana cost by 10%. Evocation, which restores your mana. Presence of Mind, which causes your next mage spell to be instant, except for the portal and teleport spells, unfortunately. And finally, Time Warp, which increases haste for you and your raid by 30% for 40 seconds. None of these are essential for questing, but can provide a nice little damage boost, especially when taking down elites. Your rotation during questing varies wildly from encounter to encounter. Instead of a standard do this, then do this type of thing, let's talk more about some guidelines you should follow. Number 1, don't be too quick to spend your arcane charges. Use one mob to build up charges, then use Arcane Blast to take down a few more quickly. You'll have downtime in between, which will give your mana time to regenerate. Don't be afraid to use Supernova as your opener. It does heavy damage when it crits, and it's a nice little AoE, and it can get the damage going. Arcane Missiles should be your top priority. If you have a set ready to go, use them. Also, I highly suggest getting the Mage Tower as one of your garrison buildings. This will cause runes of power to sometimes spawn on the ground. When standing on them, you'll get a buff which will provide you with 100% critical strike chance. So your stat priority is intelligence and then mastery. More mastery means you do more damage when your mana is above 80%. Beyond those two, you want to think about haste, and then multi-strike, and then critical strike, and then finally, versatility. Just like with rating, your tier 18 4-piece set bonus determines which gems you use. Before you get it, use Immaculate Mastery Talidite. Once you get your set bonus, switch to the Immaculate Haste Talidite gems. For your enchants, get Mastery. Mastery, Mastery, Mastery. On your weapon you want, you guessed it, Mastery. The enchant you need is Mark of Bleeding Hollow. For food, you want to eat lots of Sleeper Surprise. It increases your mastery by 100 for 1 hour if you're well fed. Finally, for macros and add-ons, please see the macro and add-ons guide that supplements this one. It's in a nice little box on the screen right now. Just click on it. That's it for my Arcane Questing Guide for 6.2. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing. And also check out my other guides and my live streams for more information and strategies. Thanks for watching.